During the Civil War, many types of ammunition were fired from several hundred different types of weapons. Bullets were made primarily in factories, and a factory worker using a machine could make as many as 3,000 bullets an hour. Prior to 1860, a soldier sometimes needed to make bullets by hand in the field. To do this, he would melt lead into a liquid over a fire and then pour it into molds. After allowing the lead to cool and harden, the soldier would take it out of the mold and then scrape the new bullet with a knife to smooth away any rough edges. This way of making bullets was not only took a long time, but also meant a soldier could only make a few bullets an hour. Bullets made during the Civil War were made of lead and weighed between 1 and 1/2 ounces. Since there were no written rules or standards for making a bullet, it's difficult to say just how many different varieties there were. We do know that we can classify all of the varieties using two general characteristics: its length and caliber, which is the diameter of the bullet. It's also important to note that bullets could be either completely smooth or have grooves etched in them. Grooved bullets have been found with as few as 1 groove or as many as 7. It can be said that most of the bullets used during the Civil War were pointed on one end and were shot from a rifled barrel. When a lead bullet is buried in the dirt for a long time, it will often rust and become white due to oxidation. Since all the bullets used during the Civil War are now over 130 years old, most of them will be rusted white when found. Today, when we look at these 130-year-old bullets, there is much to be considered. First, there is the pure history of the bullet and how it shaped the outcome of the Civil War. Second, in looking at these bullets, we can see many of our modern bullets in their earliest form. Much of what we have learned can be traced back to the developments which came as a result of the Civil War. Although today's bullets are much smoother, shinier, and made with brass, copper, and lead, we can, however, still describe them using the same categories of length and caliber. The .58 caliber Union Minie Ball was the most widely used bullet in the Civil War. Named after its creator, Captain Claude Minie of the French Army, the Minie Ball is not round as its name suggests. Often used in the Model 1861 and the Model 1863 Springfield rifled muskets, the Union Minie Ball's paper cartridge encased the ball and the black powder charge together. This bullet was perfected in 1848 and officially adopted by the U.S. Army in 1855. Rings were added to the design by the Americans and held grease to help ease the bullet down the barrel, as well as to collect powder residue when fired. Minie balls were extremely accurate within 350 yards, although they could travel as far as 1,500 yards. Found in more different shapes and sizes than any other Civil War bullet, the .577 caliber Enfield was carried by many Confederate infantry troops as well as a large portion of the Federal infantry. Designed originally in England, the Enfield cartridge was packed with the bullet positioned opposite from the usual American position. Often in the base of the bullet, letters or numbers would be stamped. These markings would indicate where the bullet was made or its caliber. The Enfield's paper cartridge encased the ball and the black powder charge together. It was often fired in the British pattern 1853 Enfield rifled musket. The .58 caliber Gardner was patented on August 17, 1861 by the Confederate States of America. The Gardner was unique because of how the paper cartridge was attached to the bullet. Normally, the paper cartridge was either wrapped or tied around the body, but in the Gardner, the paper was actually inserted into a groove in the bullet's base. The paper cartridge encased only the black powder charge. It was fired in the Model 1863 Springfield rifled musket and the British pattern 1853 Enfield rifled musket. And if the South had an official bullet, it would have been the Gardner. Used in the Model 1859 Sharp's breech-loading carbine, this bullet was redesigned in 1859 and was loaded into the rear or breech of the weapon's barrel, hence the term breech-loaded. These bullets had either a linen or nitrate-treated paper cartridge, and the was totally combustible cartridge would burn fast and hot when igniting, providing soldiers with a more reliable ammunition even under damp conditions. The .52 caliber Sharps was used primarily by Federal cavalry troops. However, both U.S. and Confederate sharpshooters also favored the bullet because of its reliability and fast firing rate. The .69 caliber round shot was used in the older smoothbore weapons such as the Model 1842 musket, the Remington conversion of the Model 1816 musket, and some foreign models. It had an effective range of approximately 100 yards, but was definitely the least accurate. In the first 2 years of the Civil War, 1861 through 1862, the .69 caliber round shot saw much action. Many soldiers could not be issued a rifled weapon since both governments' inventories were low at the start of the war. As the war progressed, the production of rifled muskets improved and the less accurate smoothbore muskets slowly became obsolete. The .44 caliber Colt Model 1860 Army was the most widely used handgun of the Civil War. This revolver was a 6-shot model, which meant it could hold 6 bullets at one time. This allowed the user to fire 6 times before needing to stop and reload the weapon. The .44 caliber Colt Model 1860 Army was the most widely used handgun of the Civil War. This was a 6-shot model, which meant it could hold 6 bullets at one time and could fire 6 times before it needed to be reloaded. The bullets were designed for the round rifled barrel, and the cartridge was paper and glued to the ball. Many companies manufactured these bullets, such as D.C. Sage, located in Middleton, Connecticut. There were approximately 129,000 Colt Model 1860 revolvers issued to the U.S. troops alone during the Civil War. The .44 caliber Colt Army revolver bullet had its black powder contained in a paper cartridge that was glued to the bullet. Moist conditions such as rain could cause the cartridge to pull away from the metal of the ball. The .58 caliber Willliams Patent Type II consisted of 3 individual pieces: a body, a zinc disc, and a pin. When fired, the pin was pushed into the body of the bullet, which flattened the cone-shaped zinc disc. Pressure expanded the diameter of the bullet's body and wedged it inside the grooves of the rifling. This caused the bullet to spin as it left the barrel of the musket. As the bullet spun through the rifled barrel, the zinc disc would scrape away some of the black powder residue left behind from prior shooting, thus its nickname, the cleaner bullet. As a result of this cleaning action, the federal government began to issue Union soldiers a Willliams Patent Type 1 or 2 bullet with every 10 rounds of ammunition. Often used in the Model 1855 Springfield rifled musket, its cartridge was blue in order to identify it from other non-cleaning bullets. The Union Army used over 600 different types of artillery ammunition during the early part of the war. Approximately 7 million rounds, or 569 tons of ammunition, was used during the 3-day battle at Gettysburg alone. Less than 1,000 of the 245,000 wounds treated in Union hospitals were from a bayonet. The Union Army issued approximately 4 million weapons during the Civil War, and this does not account for the 7,892 pieces of artillery that were also issued during the time. The standard gunpowder used during the war consisted of 76% nitro, 14% willow or poplar charcoal, and 10% sulfur. These replicas are made of a lead-free material and are manufactured in the United States by Americana Souvenirs.